Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Stormworks. We are once again working on our little flying tanker, Awacs, whatever you want to call it, plane thing. So we are back in the workbench. Today we've got a lot of work to do, something kind of different. I did mention in a couple of the previous episodes that this thing can carry 2 full cargo containers, so now we kind of have to figure that out. So we have the space for it, and I'll kind of show you guys that now, but we need to make a easier way to load them. And one kind of annoying thing is you can't really spawn them in there because of our door guns, but I think I have a pretty good idea on how we can get this done. It's going to take a couple different tries. We're going to have to experiment with a couple different things. You know, obviously if you've played this game, you know that doing stuff like this, it can be a little wonky. So we're going to do our best, and it's probably going to be another one of those episodes where we're in and out of the workbench a lot. So just kind of bear with me, but this is something that's rather important, and we got to get done. So it's pretty tight towards the back of the airplane where the ramp is, and that is where a lot of the trouble is actually going to come from. So we're going to kind of have to figure out a way to pick the containers up and then slide them into the into our plane here. But my plan for that kind of is to have a sliding rail on the roof that goes forward, and then it has 2 connectors the width of a container, and it will pick them up and drag them up the ramp into a specific spot on the deck with, you know, connectors in the floor and whatnot where the cargo container can lock in. So these are going to be, it's going to be able to basically load unmodified cargo containers. So that's going to be the big thing here, is we're just going to use the standard one so you guys can load whatever cargo you need into this. Now I am going to have some fun later on and make some specific cargo containers that you guys can load in. And you guys will see that in a later episode. I did mention it previously, but basically my idea for that is we are going to make a tank that is airdroppable that fits in one of those cargo containers, and it's remote operated, so it's going to be for a drone, but you guys will be able to use that pretty much anywhere. So it's not going to be integrated into this plane. It'll kind of be more of a standalone system. The control or the operator will be in the cargo container. So if you guys want to use it, I'll get it on the workshop once we get it built, but if you guys want to use it, you know, without the plane, you guys will be able to use it without the plane. And all you need to do is basically have like a ground power unit for the container. But other than that, it's just a little tank drone. We're going to throw some heavy autocannons on it, and that'll be that. So there will be a parachute, so you can just dump it right out the back and kind of place it wherever in the map you want. And that just kind of gives you guys a little bit more, you know, options and flexibility towards playing, you know, search and destroy mode with this thing. So it's not really designed to be the main guy on the battlefield, this plane, but you know, I do want it to be somewhat capable. So that's kind of the idea with that. What we are working on right now is kind of getting those bars that are going to connect to the cargo containers in, and you guys can see this is just generally the basic design. So we're going to have to tweak this quite a bit, but essentially it's just going to slide down here. It's going to tilt down a little bit. It'll connect, and then it'll, you know, bring them back into the cargo container. And like I said, we're going to have to tweak with this quite a lot. First, what I'm going to do is just kind of throw down some levers so we can get an idea for the order of operations and the numbers that we got to kind of send to these pivots and linear track bases and whatnot. But real quick, I've got it over here in the kind of mission editor. And so I've spawned the plane outside of the hangar, just outside of the hangar, in a area where we can kind of, you know, spawn in a cargo container separate from this and just kind of test it out. So that's kind of the method that I'm going to go for, kind of checking this out and testing it out instead of, you know, struggling with doing it on a different creation. The creation itself is a little too big to get a cargo container back there in the workbench. So this is what we're working with. I have this stupid little tank that is designed to pick these guys up. It's not going to be, you know, anything that you guys will see. It's not finished or anything like that either. So this is just something that I made quick to load the cargo containers while I was testing. But I'm going to let the time lapse rock a little bit. We'll come back in a couple minutes. You guys can kind of see what I come up with, and you know, we'll talk about it. So All right, well, you guys can see that as a proof of concept, it kind of works. So what I'm going to work on now is trying to automate it. And the tricky part about this is I want to keep them the same physics body because it makes it a lot stronger, at least the linear tracks. And so what I'm doing there is you guys saw me place a distance sensor. And what the distance sensor is going to do is when the bar kind of gets close enough to that, it's going to tilt down the connectors. That way it doesn't run into the top of the plane. And that way you can kind of just automate it. So it's going to be one key to use this. I don't want to kind of give you guys a lot of different throttles and buttons and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the idea with it really is I wanted to make it as simple as possible for you guys to use. And now we've just kind of got to tweak this. So I'm reading what this distance sensor is, and we're going to put a threshold gate on it. So let me just measure this up real quick, and we're going to put, obviously we're going to get our threshold in here, and then it's going to activate a switch box that goes into our pivots to tell them to pivot down. And then obviously when it moves back, it will, disconnect the switch box and it'll go back up to the roof, and then just kind of drag it back. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because you can load one cargo container at a time. I did test it with two. It struggles a little bit with two, but you should be able to load one and then slide this over the top of the one that's already in the plane and load another on the other side. So another thing that's kind of tricky is I'm trying to make this work on all physics levels, which I try to do that with a lot of my creations, and it is just a pain always. So kind of bear with me. It just takes a lot of kind of testing and whatnot, but usually you can make it work. So the other part of this too is I want to have it lock in place just so it's not flopping around down here while you're flying. And we're just going to add a simple hard point. So when it's returned back into this position, it locks into place. That way it won't move around. So we got to add a release to that. And the only other part of this microcontroller that really is necessary is the connected signal from the connectors. Once the connectors are connected, it will drag it'll tell the pivots the tracks to move back instead of forward. So that's kind of the thought process with this. We're going to go ahead. We're going to try to get our little cargo loader thing spawned in again. And we're going to see how this works out. So unfortunately, I did not save it and it's tilting again. So let me just fix that quick. And shouldn't be too much of an issue once we get it connected to the actual cargo container. But we are going to move this forward. So let's move the key and see how this acts. And you guys can see it moves out of the way nicely. No button inputs or anything like that. And this tank kind of handles a little goofy, so it's sometimes a little bit of a pain to test this out. It was very tedious to test this out, but I got it to a place where I think it works pretty well. And this is a pretty key feature of the aircraft. With it being a cargo airplane, I wanted to have a easy way to load cargo. And that is another issue that I will have to resolve later. Sometimes it likes to grab onto the wrong thing. And now you guys can see it's binding. So we're going to have to work on that a little bit. And that is going to be really where the hardship for this testing comes in. The pivots are, they're not super weak, but at the same time, when you have a long lever arm like that and you're trying to pick up a cargo container, it just doesn't really have a lot of leverage. So it has a hard time picking up the cargo container. And that is, one of the things that I've got to try to figure out. And I do apologize about that screen. When you guys see that weird screen, I'm in the mission editor. It didn't pick up me clicking the buttons and moving stuff around. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a Stormworks thing or something I messed up with my OBS or whatnot. But if you guys do know, let me know down below in the comments. And obviously I'm not in the mission editor too much in these videos anyways, but that's just something that I thought I should mention because it does kind of look weird. But yeah, that's what that dark screen is really, is it's just me in the mission editor moving and updating the plane. So let's get this released. We're gonna test it out again, and you guys can see it got bound up again. So that is kind of the big problem of the day. And I can tell you that to get around this, I did a couple things. So most of it was just kind of tweaking where the arms move and kind of messing with the distance and whatnot. But other than that, it's really just kind of trial and error, which at that point it can be a little annoying. But that's kind of what building in this game really amounts to a lot of times, is just a lot of trial and error. You guys can see it's stuck again. So I tried to move the number negative. That's probably not the best idea anyways. So we'll give this one more shot. And you guys can see it's still not doing what we want. And, that's just kind of how this game works. But, after we get this done, really that is the last kind of mechanical thing that we have to do in this plane. And other than that, we get to just kind of go detail it up and make it look better. And then hopefully we can get it on the workshop pretty soon. So I will confidently say this will be on the workshop before the oil rig. There's a lot less to do on this vehicle than the oil rig if you guys follow that series. I know that one's long, but that one's a lot more complicated than this. So, this was kind of just something I'm doing in between. And, it should be relatively soon when we get this thing done. So I'll definitely make a video on that when we get it done. But for the meantime, obviously we've just got to kind of do a lot of detail work. And once we get this figured out, the rest of it is just kind of all visual stuff, which is what I like to do. And normally, unfortunately, the last 10% of the build, it seems like it takes 90% of the time. I'm sure you guys have heard that saying. It's just kind of how it goes. So we're back in this goofy clipped off screen, and we're going to give this a go one more time. And if I remember correctly, this does not work, so we will just see. But let's get this ramp down and get those out. We'll move our container forward one more time, and we'll see if we can get this cargo loaded into the into the plane again. So hop back in here. I really should have basically found a better way to kind of optimize testing this, but yeah, so there you go. It's still not working, of course. And that is just kind of playing Stormworks sometimes. The physics can be really goofy, and that is unfortunately just part of the game. So you guys can see really what's happening here is it's getting caught up on a lip, which is down there. And so I'm going to go and try to fix that off camera. Just trying not to bore you guys with the same thing over and over, which I know this video is pretty repetitive, but I'm sure you guys kind of understand, especially if you've built in this game long enough. So it looks like we finally got this to a state where it kind of works. And what I did there was I changed one of the blocks on the ramp to some wedges, and the wedges actually have a smaller hitbox than the overall block, which is kind of weird, but useful to know in this game. So if you guys ever have kind of fitment issues and whatnot, there's a couple blocks that have smaller hitboxes, and you can try using those. And that's generally what I would try to do if I were you. So that is that, and we finally got it kind of working. I will say it's on low physics, so let me change it to high, and we've got some sort of weird connector bug going on right now where it is trying to flip the entire plane. Just back to the Stormworks physics. But yeah, that's that. I'm going to quit blabbering on about this, and we're just going to kind of work on it in the background. While I'm talking about this, we might as well talk about what's upcoming for the next build. So I think you guys will be happy. I'm going back to building another big boat. And while it's not really that big, it's not going to be the size of the carrier or anything like that. But it is going to be a larger boat. I'm going to be working on a frigate, so it's going to be pretty heavily armed, and I'm going to try to make it pretty much as realistic as possible. I'm going to, every time I build something, I try to make it a little bit better than the last thing I built. So You guys can kind of picture the level of detail in the carrier. We're going to be going for something like that. But I'm going to try to make some of the logistics of the vehicle a little bit more thought through, if that makes sense. So all the weapons, or classic Stormworks physics moment, all of the weapons are going to be, you know, auto reloaded, and there's going to be a weapons locker, and, you know, I do a weird thing with the hull and make it double hulled and whatnot. But it's a really, really good looking boat. I think you guys will like it. And, you know, after we get the oil rig done, I've got to obviously fill that gap too. So we're coming back to that time in the channel where if you guys have anything that you want to see built, let me know. I'm probably not going to build another plane just because we just got done with a plane. And, you know, they're just a lot of logic work. And, you know, it's cool. I like building planes. I love planes in real life, but they're not really great for the videos, if I'm being honest. And, you know, it's really hard because a plane may take 90% of the time is going to be like logic, especially like a fighter plane or something like that. So, you know, that was kind of the catch-all with this one. Was this plane is kind of big enough where a lot of it is building and a lot of it is logic also. But when you get into the really, really small planes, they're just a lot of kind of Lua work and stuff like that. So it's not really great for the videos. And personally, I enjoy the building part of the game a lot more than the logic part of the game. So, you know, if you do have any suggestions, let me know down below. We will definitely check them out. I try to respond to all your guys' comments when I can. And well, also while you're down there, check out our Discord if you haven't. You know, if you're new to the channel, we have a Discord. Pretty great place to kind of hang out, make some friends, and that's kind of where we host a lot of the build challenges. So we did just wrap one of those up. If you guys didn't see, we had a helicopter challenge for the oil rig, and I'm working on editing that video currently, but it'll probably be a week or two before you guys see that. It just kind of takes a long time to do those videos because we got quite a few submissions. So if you guys made a submission, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Super cool. And you guys will definitely see your creations in the videos while in that challenge video, and we'll kind of check them all out, test them all out. But you guys can finally see, while I'm kind of blabbering on about in the background, that's what we are looking for. So both these cargo containers are loaded into the deck, and we are ready to kind of take off and fly. So that's the idea. That's what I'm going for. So it's got to do a little bit more optimization with that, but that is generally the kind of idea we're going for. And you know, after we get this done, like I said, we're just going to kind of detail this thing up and get it on the workshop so you guys can use it. Last thing I want to do here is we're just going to go for a test flight with some cargo in the back, and I want to see how the plane kind of handles the extra weight and whatnot. And that is definitely a very important part of a cargo plane, so we probably should have done this earlier, but I'm not too worried about it. The aerodynamics in this game are not really realistic in the slightest, so pretty easy to overcome the drag and lift with just more power. We don't have a shortage on power, but what I was really concerned about is taking off with the extra weight in VTOL mode. So it looks like it's working fine. We're going to get our autopilot on here, and it does not work in vertical mode, just so you guys know when you go to use this. And don't be like me and switch into vertical mode with your collective down, or in forward mode with your collective down, because it'll just kind of do that. But yeah, it looks like it's flying fine here, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Got our altitude hold on. That's kind of what I'm playing with right now. Get it up to 7,500 feet, or not 7,500, 750 feet. And we'll just kind of fly over. Oops, let me turn that off. We'll fly over to, sorry about that, guys, cooking in the background. But we're going to fly over to this checkpoint, and we are going to just dump these out the back because it's funny. Why not? They don't have parachutes on them. They don't have anything in them. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all we got for this episode. So if you guys stayed to the end, I know this one was probably a little bit boring, a little bit more drawn out, but you know, it's pretty necessary. I'm just testing all the features, making sure our guns work, all that kind of good stuff. And once we get a little bit further over there, we're going to just drop these out of the sky and watch them crash into the ground. So if you guys do like this series, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It's a huge help to me and the channel. It's a good motivation to get these done. But yeah, that's like I said, all we got for this one. So we'll be going on to more fun stuff in the next episode. I promise, a little bit less in and out of the workbench and a little bit more block placing and decorating and that kind of stuff. So definitely stick around. We've got to do the front section of this cabin, we're going to add a bunch of seats and that kind of good stuff so you can carry a lot of passengers as well as cargo. And other than that, it's getting pretty close to done. Like I said, we just got to kind of decorate it up. But that's all I have for today. So thank you for staying to the end, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.